Hello, and welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here, and I truly appreciate you listening today. If you enjoy the stories, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. Viewer discretion is advised. Now, let's settle in and enjoy today's stories. I've always been drawn to the mysterious corners of the internet. Something about the unknown, the whispers of hidden servers, and the forbidden knowledge beckoned me. My journey started innocently enough, curiosity fueled by late-night horror forums and urban legends of sinister websites where unspeakable things occurred. One evening, after clicking through a maze of forums and encrypted links, I stumbled upon a plain black page with a single line of text at the center. Enter at your own risk. The page loaded slowly, revealing a grainy video with no title. It was just a thumbnail, blurry, dark, and almost indistinguishable, but something about it gripped me. A thin hand hovered over a keyboard, illuminated by a dim desk lamp. The preview stuttered, a faint static overlaying the clip. Against my better judgment, I clicked. The screen flickered as the video began to play. A distorted voice spoke over a montage of fragmented footage. There were quick cuts of abandoned rooms, walls streaked with what looked like rust, and a close-up of someone's eye, wide and bloodshot. The voice droned, almost hypnotically. Those who seek will find. Those who find will regret. I couldn't look away. The video cut to black suddenly, and then a message appeared. Access granted. Continue? A part of me wanted to stop there, but the pull was stronger. I hit yes. Clicking the link brought me to another page, much like the first. Bare bones, dark, with a single box for input. The instructions were simple. Enter your email. I hesitated. No way was I giving out my personal information. Instead, I created a burner email and typed it in. Within seconds, I received a message. The subject line was blank, and the body contained nothing but another link. I clicked it. The screen filled with a live feed of a room. The grainy quality reminded me of old CCTV footage. A chair sat in the center of the room, facing away from the camera. Shadows danced on the walls, cast by an unseen light source. The chat box below the video was empty, except for a flashing cursor. Then, the chair moved. Not much, just a slight swivel, like someone was sitting there, shifting their weight. My heart raced. Words began to appear in the chat box. Welcome. You've been chosen to witness. Witness what? I typed back, my fingers trembling. Stay and see. Leave and regret. Before I could think of a response, the video changed. A figure stepped into the frame, tall and shrouded in dark clothing. They moved slowly, deliberately, as if aware they were being watched. The camera zoomed in on their hands, which were holding a small object. It looked like a USB drive. The figure placed it on the chair, then turned to face the camera. Their face was masked, but their eyes burned with something indescribable. I felt exposed, as if they could see me through the screen. The chat box updated. Retrieve it. Coordinates sent. The coordinates pointed to a derelict warehouse on the outskirts of town. I should have stopped there, closed the laptop, and never looked back. But something compelled me. A mix of curiosity and an inexplicable feeling that I had already gone too far to turn around. The warehouse was a skeletal husk of its former self. Rusted beams jutted out like broken bones, and the air was thick with the stench of mildew. I found the USB drive exactly where the video had shown it, on a dusty chair in the middle of an empty room. As soon as I picked it up, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number read, "You are being watched." I froze. The faint hum of a distant car engine echoed through the building. I whipped around, but no one was there. Still, the feeling of eyes on me was suffocating. Clutching the USB drive, I ran to my car and sped home. Back home, I hesitated before plugging the USB into my computer. A part of me hoped it would be empty, that this was all some elaborate prank. But it wasn't. The drive contained a single folder titled Eyes. Inside were dozens of video files, each labeled with a timestamp. The most recent one matched the exact moment I had entered the warehouse. My stomach churned as I clicked it open. The footage showed me, from the moment I stepped into the warehouse to the second I grabbed the USB drive. The camera angles shifted, tracking my every move, as if operated by an unseen hand. I paused the video and scanned the timestamps. There were more, dating back years. One title stood out among the rest. Before You Knew. I clicked it. It was footage of me, sitting at my desk, staring at my laptop. The timestamp was from 3 days ago, long before I had even found the website. I slammed the laptop shut, my chest heaving. The phone buzzed again. Keep watching. It gets better. The USB was gone the next morning. I tore apart my desk, my room, and even checked my car, but it had vanished. When I tried to revisit the website, the link was dead. No amount of searching brought it back, but the texts didn't stop. Every night, a new message would arrive. Check your porch. Look outside. Don't ignore us. I refused to look, but then the videos began appearing in my email. They were of me, sleeping, eating, walking to my car. Always shot from a distance, yet so clear it was as if the camera was right beside me. One night, unable to take it any longer, I opened the latest file. This one wasn't of me. It showed a dark room, lit only by a flickering bulb. A figure sat in a chair, their face obscured. Slowly, they raised their hand, revealing a piece of paper with my name scrawled on it. The camera zoomed in as the figure whispered, "You're next." Sleep became impossible. Every shadow felt like a threat, every noise like a warning. I unplugged my laptop, threw my phone into a drawer, and tried to sever myself from the digital world. For a while, it worked, or at least I thought it did. But then, the physical notes began appearing. The first one was tucked under my windshield wiper, a scrap of paper with 3 words written in a shaky hand. Do not run. I glanced around the parking lot, scanning for anyone who might be watching, but it was empty. Back at home, I locked every door and window, pulling the curtains tight. Yet the notes kept coming. One slipped under my door, another tucked into my jacket pocket while I wasn't looking. Each carried a new message. We see you. Don't fight it. Come back to us. What terrified me most was that the handwriting was different on each one. Desperate for answers, I turned the laptop back on. As if waiting for me, a new email was already in my inbox. The subject line read, "No escaping." The body contained only a link. I hesitated, but clicked. This time, the video didn't load immediately. Instead, a black screen displayed a countdown. 300, 259, 258. Panic clawed at me as I stared at the numbers ticking down. When the timer hit 0, the video started. It showed a live feed of my living room. I stood up so fast, my chair toppled over. The angle was wide, capturing the entire space, including me standing in the frame. My heart pounded as I turned to find the source of the camera, but the room was empty. The feed, however, showed something different. A figure entered the frame, tall, masked, and deliberate. They walked behind me on the screen, their movements slow and methodical. I spun around, but there was no one there. Yet on the screen, the figure moved closer, stopping just inches from where I stood. The video froze, then cut to black. I packed a bag and left that night. I didn't have a plan, only a burning need to get away. Motel rooms became my refuge, each one temporary, each one feeling less safe than the last. But the emails followed. No matter where I went, they arrived in my inbox, as if the senders knew my every move. Then came the knock at the door. It was a man in a dark hoodie, his face hidden under the shadow of the brim. He didn't speak, just handed me a small envelope before disappearing into the night. Inside was a single photograph. It was me, sitting at a motel desk, staring at the envelope I now held in my hands. Fear turned to anger. Whoever they were, they had invaded my life, taken my sense of safety, and replaced it with paranoia. I decided to confront the source head-on. Using the envelope's return address as a lead, I traced it to an abandoned internet cafe on the outskirts of the city. The place reeked of damp wood and mildew, the air thick with a strange stillness. The computers were ancient, their screens cracked and dusty. But one monitor was on, its glow faint and flickering. A message blinked on the screen. "We knew you'd come." Before I could move, the door slammed shut behind me. The sound echoed in the empty room, followed by the low hum of something powering on. A projector flickered to life, casting a video onto the far wall. It was me again, this time standing in the very room I was in, filmed moments earlier. The angle panned, revealing a shadow creeping behind me. I whipped around, fists clenched. But the room was empty. The projector cut off, plunging me into darkness. When I woke, I was lying in a room I didn't recognize. The air was cold, metallic, and the walls were lined with countless monitors. Each screen showed a live feed, different people, different places. Some were eating, others working, some staring at their phones, unaware they were being watched. A figure entered the room, dressed in the same dark clothing as the one from the videos. This time, they removed the mask. Their face was unremarkable, almost unsettlingly plain. "You wanted to know the truth," they said, their voice calm, almost soothing. "Now you're part of it." "What is this?" I demanded. "Who are you?" They gestured toward the monitors. "It's not about who we are. It's about who you've become. You stepped into our world willingly. The moment you clicked, you chose this." I wanted to argue, to scream, but deep down, I knew they were right. My curiosity had led me here, to the point of no return. "Let me go," I said, my voice shaking. "I'll forget all of this. I won't say a word." They smiled faintly. "It doesn't work like that. You don't leave the network. You become part of it." Before I could respond, the lights dimmed, and the room dissolved into shadows. The lights returned, but the monitors were no longer showing strangers. Instead, every screen displayed me, not just in the present, but across my entire life. Childhood birthdays, high school classrooms, moments I thought were private. Every one of them had been captured. "How is this possible?" I whispered, my voice cracking. The figure leaned closer, their breath cold against my skin. "Everything is recorded somewhere. Every camera, every screen, every device. The web isn't just a tool, it's a mirror." I backed away, my legs shaking. "I don't want this. Let me go, please." The figure shook their head slowly. "You sought the truth, and now you have it. There's no undoing that." The monitors flickered again, and I saw myself sitting at my desk at home. My face was pale, eyes hollow, staring at the laptop. But it wasn't just a recording. It was live. My hands moved, typing something, though I wasn't there to do it. What are you doing to me?" I shouted. The figure didn't answer. Instead, they gestured toward a chair in the center of the room. On its surface lay another USB drive. This one, engraved with a strange symbol, a spiral that seemed to twist endlessly into itself. "You're ready to contribute," they said. I was forced into the chair. They didn't bind me or restrain me. There was no need. My body wouldn't move. It was as if every muscle had been disconnected from my mind. The USB drive was placed in my lap, and the figure began to speak. "This is your offering, your story, your perspective, your truth. You're no longer the audience. You're the source." The monitors came to life again, showing a cascade of images. At first, they were unfamiliar. Other people, other lives. But as the feed continued, the faces grew more familiar. Family members, friends, people I passed on the street. Each one seemed to falter, as if noticing the camera, their expressions twisting into fear. Then the monitors showed me again. But this time, I was in the chair. Not here, not now. Somewhere else, in another moment I couldn't place. My face was gaunt, my eyes sunken, and my lips moved silently, as if repeating words I couldn't hear. The figure leaned in. "You're part of the network now. You'll watch, and you'll be watched. Forever." Time lost meaning. Days, weeks, maybe months passed in that room. I wasn't allowed to leave, not physically at least. My body remained in the chair, but my mind was scattered across the feeds. I began to see the world as they did. Every face, every life was a story waiting to be told, every moment a piece of content for the endless archive. I didn't just observe anymore. I influenced. My thoughts whispered into the feeds, shaping events, pulling others into the network as I had been pulled. The figure was right. I was no longer a person. I was part of something larger, something endless. One day, the monitors changed. The feeds I'd grown accustomed to disappeared, replaced by a single image. My home, my desk, my empty chair. It was strange to see it as it had been, untouched since the night I left. The laptop was still open, the screen dark. For a fleeting moment, I felt a pang of longing, a desire to return to that simpler time when the dark web was just a mystery, a game I thought I could play without consequence. But the feeling was fleeting. The network had consumed me, erasing the person I'd been. I no longer belonged to the world outside. The figure returned, standing silently behind me. I didn't need to ask what would happen next. I already knew. The monitors shut off one by one, plunging the room into darkness. Yet I could still see, my vision filled with countless feeds, countless lives, even without the screens. The world became a kaleidoscope of moments, fragments of existence streaming endlessly into my consciousness. I was no longer a man, no longer a victim. I was part of the machine, a silent observer, a shadow in the corner of every screen, every lens. I had become the network, and somewhere, in another place, someone else was clicking on a link. Their curiosity would lead them down the same path, their story joining the archive, their life merging with the endless spiral. The network never stops, and neither will I. It started like any other evening. Me, hunched over my desk, scrolling through late-night forums about conspiracy theories and urban legends. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just chasing the vague thrill that came with uncovering forbidden corners of the internet. That's when I saw the post. "They know you're watching." It was buried deep in a thread about obscure websites, accompanied by a link. No explanation, no context, just those 4 words and the URL. I hesitated. Clicking strange links wasn't new to me, but something about this one felt different. The address wasn't the usual string of letters and numbers associated with Tor sites. It looked almost professional, innocuous. I clicked. The page was sparse, plain white background with a single line of text. Do you consent to be archived? Beneath it were two buttons, yes and no. I hovered over no, but curiosity got the better of me. My finger clicked yes. The screen went black, and a video began to play. The video was grainy, the sound distorted. A figure sat in a dimly lit room, their face obscured by shadows. The voice was calm, clinical, as though reading from a script. "Welcome to the archive," it said. "You've taken the first step. From this moment, you are observed." The camera cut to a new scene. This time, a crowded coffee shop. People milled about, unaware of the lens capturing their every move. The footage zoomed in on one man sitting by the window, typing on a laptop. Something about him seemed familiar, though I couldn't place it. The camera panned closer, and my stomach dropped. The man was me. The video froze on my face before cutting to black. Then, a new message appeared. "Your footage has been catalogued." More to come. I slammed my laptop shut and paced my apartment, my mind racing. How could they have footage of me? That clip wasn't from today, or even yesterday. It was months old. I told myself it had to be a coincidence, a trick of editing, but I couldn't shake the unease. Against my better judgment, I opened my laptop again. A new window had appeared unprompted. It was a live feed, the timestamp matching the exact moment. The angle was strange, as if the camera were perched in the corner of my room, looking down on me. I turned, scanning for any hidden device, but the walls were bare. My laptop's camera light wasn't even on, yet there I was, staring at myself in real time. A chat box blinked into existence below the feed. Words appeared, typed out one letter at a time. "You're part of the archive. Now. Do not resist." I typed back, my hands shaking. "Who are you?" The reply came instantly. "Watch and learn." The feed disappeared, replaced by a grid of smaller screens, hundreds of them. Each showed a different person, their lives playing out in real time. A woman brushing her teeth, a man asleep in his bed, a child playing with toys in a living room. I clicked on one at random. The screen expanded to show a teenage boy sitting at a desk, scrolling through his phone. He seemed oblivious, unaware he was being watched. A sense of dread crept over me as I realized the truth. These weren't recordings. They were live. The chat box reappeared. "Choose one to follow." I didn't understand. "Follow? What does that mean?" I typed. The response was chilling. "Their life or yours? Choose." I refused. I wouldn't do it. My defiance was met with silence, and for a brief moment, I thought I'd won. But then, the feed shifted back to me. This time, from multiple angles. Every detail of my apartment was on display. The unwashed dishes in the sink, the pile of laundry by the bed, even the half-empty coffee cup on my desk. The chat box blinked again. "Refusal is unacceptable." The screen changed to show my mother's house, the angle familiar, yet wrong. The camera must have been placed just outside her living room window, peering in. She sat on the couch, flipping through a photo album. I froze. "Leave her out of this," I typed. The reply was instant. "Choose." Reluctantly, I clicked on a feed. It was a young woman in her mid-20s, sitting at her kitchen table and scrolling on her phone. I didn't recognize her, but that didn't make it any easier. The chat box returned. "Good. Now watch." For hours, I was forced to observe. Her routine was mundane: eating dinner, washing dishes, watching TV, but the weight of my decision hung heavy. I was complicit now, another pair of eyes in the archive. When she finally went to bed, the screen faded to black. A new message appeared. "Your participation has been noted. There is no turning back." The feeds began appearing on their own, popping up even when I wasn't at my laptop. My phone buzzed with notifications from unknown numbers, each containing short clips of strangers' lives. I started to see the world differently. Every stranger on the street felt like a potential target, every camera a potential threat. I couldn't escape the feeling that I was being watched even when the screens were off. Then the dreams began. They were vivid, almost indistinguishable from reality. In them, I was no longer just an observer. I was part of the feeds, moving through the lives I had watched. I felt their fear, their confusion, their growing awareness of being monitored. I woke up each morning drenched in sweat, the sound of static ringing in my ears. One night, the chat box appeared again. This time it was different. The message was simple. You are ready. Ready for what? I didn't have to wait long to find out. The live feed returned, showing me sitting at my desk. But this time, the image didn't stay still. It moved, shifting perspectives, as though I were being watched from multiple angles simultaneously. Then I saw them. Shadows moved in the background of the feed, indistinct, but undeniably there. They drew closer, circling me like vultures. I spun around in my chair, but the room was empty. The final message appeared on the screen. Welcome to the archive. Your story begins now. The lights in my apartment flickered, and the room filled with the hum of unseen machinery. My reflection in the monitor shimmered, distorting into something unrecognizable. I reached out to touch the screen, but my hand passed through it. The cold, digital static enveloped me, pulling me in. I am no longer myself. My name, my life, my memories, all have been absorbed into the archive. Now, I am part of the system, an endless observer trapped in an infinite loop of lives. I see everything, yet I am seen by no one. Somewhere out there, another curious soul is clicking a link, their curiosity leading them down the same path. Soon, they too will join us. The archive is infinite, and it never stops growing. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed what you've heard and want to hear more, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps the channel grow, and I truly appreciate your support.